All right, hey everybody, Old Blue Cord back. Well, I'm gonna start a series of videos like I talked about in the first. I did an end of the year video, and I hate to call these videos call out videos because really not call out videos, but it's gonna be maybe a counterpoint to what you read on or watch on YouTube or read in a car forum. I'm going to give my own opinion on it, and this is a guy that I've been dying to do this one for a while. And these videos are going to be a little bit critical, but at the same time, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. And this guy here, Thunderhead289, has got a great YouTube channel. He's big into carburetors, which is kind of cool. Young guy, very very smart individual. So I don't want to make it out that this person isn't intelligent. I just want to make sure that kind of know what you're buying into. So it starts out, he had lots and lots of really good carburetor videos, obviously. I believe he has, let's look up the top here. I'm just going to do this on the fly. So he's got 605 videos, almost 300,000 subscribers. He's into fours, which that makes him a nut in my opinion. But so he starts off with, he starts talking about a year ago about feedback carburetors. And of course, he doesn't really call them feedback carburetors because that's already been invented. And these young guys, it's going to happen. You really have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to automotive stuff because everything's been done already. The last 110 years of gasoline engines in automobiles, just about every concept known that you could possibly think of is either been done or patented or been tried some way or another. So he kind of leads into his whole story, and this takes a long time. I mean, this is months and months of videos. There's that old car fable, and there's a lot of them, and I'm going to do a video on a bunch of them because I love this. I just love this stuff, honestly. I know I'm going to sound negative a lot in this, but I just love these stories. He's going to talk about the 100 miles per gallon carburetor. There's this fable that's gone, I don't even know when it started, probably in the 50s or 60s, that somebody invents a carburetor that gets you 100 miles to gallon, and he patents it, and he's got all these diagrams and drawings, and then he just mysteriously disappears. The government came, got him, aliens, I don't know. It's a fable, so there's 100 versions of the same story, but it all has the same premise that somebody, the government, could get us great gas mileage, but they don't want to, and the don't want to part I'm never really sure about, so it's a little bit hard to figure out where the story's going. But it's a great story. So some of his early videos, he hints about he's got this carburetor that's going to get, and he tells you here, illegally good. This is one of my favorites here. The legally good miles per gallon, and then he claims here 45 miles per gallon in a V8, and then over here he goes back down to 40 miles per gallon on a V8 at 75 miles an hour, and he goes on and on. Yeah, defy the impossible. He's got like these really cool headlines too. It's like it's kind of that us versus them mentality, and it's pretty popular nowadays. It's interesting. So, but he leads into putting a lawnmower carburetor on his V8 engine, and I believe that's a 302. It might be a 351. It's a Maverick. I mean, he's kind of a nut with Fords. That's cool, I like that. But yeah, so he puts this little lawnmower carb on there, and actually, and again, to give him credit for he's a smart guy, he has a way to make it run by, he uses a vacuum leak to make the carburetor richer or leaner, and then he's wrote this little program, or he claims he's wrote this little program. Anyway, he's selling something, of course. It's the old Barnum and Bailey, P.T. Barnum, story. You got to come up with a gimmick for the gimmick. But he's got this little program that runs this carburetor, and he's selling them now. It's called the Carb Cheater, which I'd like to buy one. If I had a carburetor car, I'd probably try it. But a bunch of us told him, feedback carburetors have been a while. Or I've got the Quadrajet over there. It's a feedback carburetor. and they worked okay in the 80s, but you know, with electronics and stuff the way they were, they fell out of tune so fast that they didn't never made the warranty. It drove dealerships crazy. Where now he's got this little, you know, of course your handheld phone is 10 times faster than any ECU in a car anyway. So but he does all these little videos. This one is my favorite, the legally good miles per gallon. And the road test one is even better. Now, this is where I got a little bit of issue, because what he does in the road test is he fills up the car. He does a gas mileage test. He fills up the car to the top, which, if anybody knows those older cars, especially Fords, you could get, if you fill it to the top, it could, and use the gas handle, it could stop at any place, really. But that's fine. He goes through and then drives, he gets on the highway, and he goes 30 miles to the next exit, and then he fills up. And then he says he does this math, and I think he does the math wrong. He doesn't have a speedometer hooked up. He's got all these little tricks. Doesn't have a speedometer hooked up, so you can't see how fast he's going, and you can't tell exactly how far he's gone. He claims he's using GPS, but he doesn't really show you, blah, blah, blah. So he gets 41.1. Once again, I think he really only got 30 miles to the gallon, which actually is really pretty good. Problem, if anybody knows anything with gas mileage tests, and I've been doing gas mileage, you know, on and off now for 4 years. You don't do 10 miles, 30 miles. You do hundreds and hundreds of miles, thousands of miles. I mean, I use the counters on my Jeep, and one of them's got 6,000 miles on it right now, and my mileage is 13.1. Well, that's how you really look at your overall. That's how you get data correctly. And he is kind of an engineer, so he's playing the numbers to make things look good. I work with engineers. I see this all the time, especially these young guys. But they'll take a test sample of 100 and have one bad one. So, and then they used statistics to say that the next 45 million are all going to be good, and then you check another 100 and half of them are bad, and then their mind is blown. So we can go into that. That's just a numbers game, but it's kind of cute anyway. He does the 30 miles, and he claims that it can go over here. He claims that again it can go 75 miles an hour, which I called him baloney on that. I think this, and he got into a thing where he wanted people to guess how much power the car was making. Well, people think because it's got a small carburetor, but it still runs, it's got the same amount of power. Well, it's all about airflow, and obviously the carburetor is just about this big around. You don't have any airflow. Now, to go 70 miles an hour or 65 down the road, and I've showed you guys this in my Jeep, it only takes 40 or 50 horsepower. So I told him he's making 50 horsepower. And I said, if I'm close, I want a t-shirt. Well, he got a little smart with me. I didn't hurt my feelings, but he was like, well, I don't sell t-shirts. But of course, when you go to any one of his videos, let's go to this one, and you look on the bar right here, it's selling you t-shirts. So I just and then he does some stuff in here. He does some good editing, like he talks about 40 mile an hour V8 lawnmower carb. Is that a record? I don't know what the record is. And he shows this big, look, watch this burnout. This is pretty cool. Now, we all know you gotta have more than 50 horsepower to do that. So, and then he comes into his intro. So he's messing around, splicing the thing. He shows himself here banging gears real hard, and you can tell he's actually going real gingerly on the highway, because if you floor it, it is a fake ad on a fake ad. It just kills me, but. So he shows some of the little stuff where he's got makes a little vacuum leak, and it's just this little electronic solenoid. He's got a little circuit board in there. And anyway, it's cool. I think the technology's cool. He proves to people that, because people think a smaller carburetor is going to run lean, and that's not true. Because if you put your hand over the top of a carburetor and choke it, it runs richer, right? Because when it's cold, you choke it. So people got lost on that whole concept, and he kind of made fun of them, which that's fine. And then he played around with this little carburetor, and then I think he's manipulating the spark with his little doohickey here. That's why I want to buy one. I question him if he's doing electronic advance, because that's what I would do to help you with fuel mileage, especially is as long as you're looking at your air fuel ratio and it's good, you can keep advancing the distributor. You can keep advancing until you see an air fuel ratio problem. He claims no, but that's a Dave's Unified distributor, and then he's put his own cover on it. He covered it up. I thought that was funny too. He's using somebody else's distributor, and then but maybe he'll comment on this. I doubt it. He claims he's so busy he can't answer anybody's questions. You know, this usual stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to call it out a little bit because he's a really smart guy, and he's he's using a wideband. He's looking at engine vacuum to adjust. I think it adjusts really slow. You can kind of tell. It's probably not much better than a normal carburetor, because that's what a carburetor does. It adjusts according to your engine vacuum. So he's not really, again, he's just reinventing the wheel. It's pretty cool. It looks like you can actually adjust a little bit rich and lean, but I don't know how much. It's got a little auto tune function. I doubt that works, but I'm gonna buy one. Maybe, I gotta have a car that has a carburetor. And again, he's swapping around drivability and mileage. Like, he's talking about his mileage here, but then he's talking about power and drive. I mean, you're switching the numbers around. He's making 50 horsepower. You're going to get pretty good miles. And he takes his car on the power tour. That's the best part. And taking it out, I want to make sure I'm not going too far over the limit here. Let's go, 11 minutes, not too. So he takes it on the power tour, and he puts it on the dyno, and it makes like 57 horsepower. It's exactly what a couple of us said. Doesn't acknowledge that. I think he's got some problems. It wouldn't pull hills here in Tennessee. See, he lives in Iowa where it's dead flat. And in Tennessee, you got some, I'm not talking mountains, but hills. And it's not going to pull at highway speeds. 50. You're going to need more than 50 horsepower. Even a two-door Maverick, probably weigh 2,800 pounds. I'm not even sure. My parents had one when I was a kid. They're not a good car. But they're a small car. And he's got a decent-sized motor in it and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's a story. It's a good story. I mean, it's a good story. You need good stories. You need people like this. You need to like people like this in the world, because they're definitely not afraid to try something, and they're definitely not afraid to, try to sell something and all that stuff. And he's got some other cool videos in here. He's got some pretty good videos on manifold and vacuum advance. If you want to use manifold for your advance or vacuum, ported vacuum, I should say. But and he's got a few here, and they're actually the videos are well done. I'm terrible with my editing, obviously. I'm pretty excited. I got my Premiere, so I'm going to start doing my own editing. It's a huge learning curve. I've already tried, but yeah, he's got a bunch of videos, and it's kind of like the us versus them thing, and he can be a little snarky sometimes, so I think he'll be able to handle this. So, yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk about. But it's kind of he just the way he does his mileage, that driving 30 miles and then filling it back up. And when he fills it back up at the pump, he's like, he just waits until it stops. Where before he packed it full. I mean, you could see fuel coming out of the fuel neck, and didn't keep track of his miles correctly. I think he went by GPS, but then he said he did it wrong. And he did the math. Then he said he got 45, but it's 41.1, which then he claims he's an engineer. Well, if you're an engineer and 45 and 41.1, that's the difference between landing on Mars and not landing on Mars, in my opinion. But I'm not an engineer. I work with engineers. A lot of these guys are funny. But yeah, and he's selling it. He's got make a self-tuning carb cheater. I like his name, Carb Cheater. It's like you're really doing something. And I'm not even sure how much. I think they're like $300. That's probably what they cost. God only knows. He's got to be having it made in India or China or something like that. But it's a pretty good idea, especially if you're stuck on a carburetor. He puts one on his dad's Ford, and again, he shows his dad's Ford not running good, but it's ice cold and he has the choke wide open. So he's got the air cleaner off. He starts to pull it out of the garage, and the choke's wide open. Well, if you don't run a choke on a carburetor when it's ice cold, and it's cold outside, it's got a coat on, it's going to chug and not run too good. And he shows the air-fuel ratio, which is way off, which carburetors are way off anyway, and especially ice cold. So he kind of starts there, and then he puts the carb cheater on it, and he warms it all the way up, which I think is funny because it takes a long time to warm up. And then he shows you how great it's running, how smooth it is. and it's off choke, you know, it's on feedback, so it's just kind of moving the numbers around. He's a smart guy. He does controls, he claims, for some company. God only knows what they do in Iowa, but control guys are usually pretty smart programmers, and they understand, you know, complex machines, I guess you could say. So most of them, some of them don't know anything. I'm not sure if I'd want them to tune my carburetor, but yeah, so this is going to be my Monday, and we're going to call these videos my Monday. I'm going to call them the Monday morning quarterback videos. I might call them something else, but I'm going to try to do them on Mondays, not every Monday, but I've got a bunch. I'm going to use the setup here. I'm going to try to do some better editing. This isn't that great, but I'm really happy with my desk setup, so at least you guys can see what he's got going on here. Hopefully he doesn't take exception to, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for using his site. I don't think I will. I don't know how that works, but we'll find out. If I'm in trouble, I'm in trouble, right? But yeah, so we got the carb cheater, us against them. He's got all these people they log in on. The government's going to come take you away. We're so surprised that, and he won't do a video for a month. They're like, we thought they had taken you, and he's got this little cult following. It's really kind of cute, really. Yeah, see, he even says here, carb cheater, rev limiter function first test. So if you're doing a rev limiter, then you're looking at the spark control or the coil control. And he told me he doesn't, but obviously he does. And that's fine. That's good. I mean, that's a better way to do it than just making a vacuum leak to make your carburetor richer or leaner. I mean, if you can get some spark advance involved in the equation, your vehicle is going to run a lot better, and electronically is the best way to do it. If you're looking at all the right parameters, and that's what modern cars do. He's, again, not reinventing the wheel. That's how modern cars, they still have a spark advance and everything else. You know, they just do it with a very fast computer. And maybe I'll do a video of that, because that is confusing to some people. I think you can look at a handheld and see where the spark is in advance, etc. So yeah, so fun stuff. But and I'm going to put this on my international guys. Always want you to use in my opinion, too small carburetor. So instead of using a 500 CFM or the 350 CFM 2-barrel, they recommend these small 220 CFM. So this lawnmower carburetor thing, I'm going to put that up there and stir the hornet's nest up with it, because they think they're doing something by putting a small carburetor. The only thing you're doing is limiting your horsepower, because your horsepower is a function of airflow and fuel, obviously. But in this case, when you're looking at a hole that big compared to a carburetor, you know, we've seen the 4-barrel carburetor. I mean, your airflow, especially in the higher RPM range, is where your power is at. And that's why all these high performance cars have like dual carburetors. I mean, in the stock, you know, the 6-pack 440s and 427 tri powers and all the Chevrolet, and there's somebody had dual quads. They ain't put them 2 carburetors on there for looks. They put them on there for performance, just because you're getting airflow. And there's thousands and thousands of videos of that, but we'll do a video about that too. That's a fun one. But all right, guys. Well, that's all I got for that. Anyway, Thunderhead 289, check him out. He's got, you know, 1 million views on some of these videos. The ones where he's, you know, illegally good miles per hour, that's been in my mind for a year. So kind of fun. But check it out, and appreciate looking at the channel. And I'll keep doing the videos, and hopefully get some more subscribers. And appreciate y'all looking. Have a good one. Thank you.